Good evening. We have breaking news today. It's not. It happened yesterday, but it was, I think, worth mentioning. We didn't bring it up yesterday, and it was quite big. Grand Moff Jesus, I can never pronounce his name. Grand Moff Tarkin left the Death Star yesterday. He was headed to Coruscant. He arrived in Coruscant to a warm welcome and presented the Emperor Palpatine with a letter. It was a nomination for a Nobel Peace Prize. And apparently this had been on the Emperor's wish list for quite some time. He's been concerned about previous emperors who got the Peace Prize, and he thought that maybe his Peace Prize was... So we wanted to cover that. And hold on a sec. What? It wasn't Tarkin. Netanyahu. I know where Israel is. The White House. Trump. Yeah. That's what I said. Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Time. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter. Thank you so much for joining us. We're hoping to get 𝐒𝐨𝐿. I was able to speak with him a short while ago. I don't think he's here. I see no indication that he's here. He has...
Oh, that's awesome. That means I can actually go home?
Yeah,
Oh, sweet. I'm out of here.
You are such an... You did that so on purpose. It makes us look like an unprofessional show. I mean, the Empire Grand Moff Tarkin thing aside, I mean, it really smacks of...
Grand Moff Tarkin, huh?
Yeah. Well...
Is that a new kind of language?
No. That's never mind. I wouldn't expect you to get the reference.
Perhaps I would have if you'd have actually pronounced his name right.
What's his? I don't know why his name just bailed. Grand Moff Tarkin.
There you
go. There. Okay.
It's not
right.
talking.
It's not. You're really not helping.
I talk good.
I speak good English. What I'm also trying to do is just get the because we had an image. Let me just... I'm going to try this one more time. Let me see. So you're out in the middle of nowhere right now?
Yeah, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. Along what is touted as America's loneliest highway, US 50.
And it's 112 outside?
No, temperatures come down a little bit. It's 98 now.
Okay. All right. So we do have a clip from that interaction with Netanyahu. So let me play that real quick. Oh shoot! I think I hit the wrong button. Okay. All right. So in all seriousness. I'm always a little reluctant to start a show quite that loony, because we do take these things seriously, but there's been so much that's been difficult in the news. I'm going to start slightly differently than I had planned, slightly differently than I had notified 𝐒𝐿 I was going to start, just because if he's going to mess with me, I'm going to mess with him right back. And that is, I want to start with what I think is the single most important thing, that is in the news today. And that's the Epstein case. And there is a lot going on in Texas, which is absolutely devastating. One of the things I tell friends, there's only two kinds of people in the world. There are people who have children and people who don't. And every time something like this happens and you see it on the news, if you have kids, you cannot help. It is built into your limbic brain, lizard brain, that you say to yourself, where are they right now? And are they okay? And you want to check on them. You can't, even if they've never been to Texas. So, and how and why this happened, we all have some pretty good ideas, and we're going to talk about that tonight. But that's not the biggest story. Now, we've cared about Ukraine for a very long time. Trump has said in the last 24 hours, he's done a complete about-face and has said that, he actually said, in an unconfirmed, he said that Putin was full of shit. I believe he actually said that. He's apparently rather pissed at Putin for repeatedly saying not only no to any possible deal, but making him look bad for even trying, making Trump look bad for even trying. And again, for whatever reason, I don't get it. I think Trump is a narcissist. I think he's got all of these faults, but for some reason he really doesn't like war. He really doesn't. He's got a thing against it, and I'm glad. It's just a little weird because, every time he starts talking about, they're killing people over there. He's losing this many people too. I'm sitting there going, since when do you care? He does. He absolutely does. I no idea why. I'm glad, but he doesn't care about people on Medicaid, Social Security. I mean, he doesn't care, but war is a sticking point for him. So that's big if he means it, and it looks like we're going to be sending them more Patriots. It looks like we're going to be sending them a lot more defensive stuff, and that's really, really important. That's not the biggest thing in the news. That troops seem to be moving into, is it Algeria? I can look it up in a second, but Russian troops in an attempt to destabilize. What is it? Not the Falklands, the Caucasus. Sorry, which is kind of big because Iran is in that area, and that's worth getting into. So much going on, and the real news is the Epstein stuff. But the truth is, I don't have a lot to tell you about that now. For those of you who are joining us for the first time ever, we're a community-run show. We have a Discord, and the direction that the Discord tends to take, both in its discussions and in the news that goes out there, has a very strong influence on the direction this show ultimately takes. And people have been talking about the Epstein files, but all we have to talk about right now is that Pam Bondi has suddenly said there are none. They don't exist, which is fundamentally insane. But I can't fill a whole hour with that. And we can go back and cover all the lurid details. We can cover all of the evidence, and I'm going to cover one or two pieces that I find unbelievably compelling, but we've all seen it before. So if Trump is guilty of what I think he's probably guilty of, if his connection with Epstein was much closer than he has said, and on a scale that I personally suspect. Now, I once, you Zenner, you heard this, where I told LaPierre, I called Wayne LaPierre guilty of negligent homicide while he was the head of the NRA, and he's sued people for that. So when Duncan, that's no joke. Duncan, thank you for your super chat. I'm going to get to it, but it's no joke. I've said things that have been flirting with getting sued. I didn't want to get sued by LaPierre, but I figured at least if he sued me for negligent homicide, it would at least put that discussion on a table somewhere. Still not the wisest move, probably, especially if you got a family. But hey, I'm not going to say where I am with Trump, and the reason is because I do believe in innocent until proven guilty. I think the evidence that he is deep in with Epstein on some level is pretty strong. But how far, I don't know. But if it's as far as I think, he's going to die before that evidence comes out. He will either kill himself or somebody's going to off him if it's as bad as I have a tendency to think. Could be wrong. Could be way wrong. I don't know. We don't know. It looks bad. It looks really bad. We know he was closer than he said, but the question is how close. Right now, he's murdering this thing, and even if... So we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We got to wait and figure out what MAGA is going to do. Are they going to push hard on Trump? And if they do, what good is it going to do? And I don't know. So I wanted to ask Zandring this question. What are your thoughts on the case, it going forward, and where we stand with it now?
Oh, you actually want me to answer this time?
What? I knew it.
Well, I mean, I tried to answer this question once before, and you're like, no, on the show.
Yeah, well, I asked you before the show, but here's what happens, which is we have these great conversations. Okay, so you and I will have a conversation that'll go like 2 hours, and it'll be a great conversation, and afterwards we'll be like, wow, we should do a show on it. And then we go to do a show on it, and I'm like, so, is Andering? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, so, you want to talk about that thing that we talked about, that thing? And you're like, yeah, that was a great conversation. I was like, yeah, what did we talk? And so I'm just like, no, we're going to save it for the show. So it's showtime. Yes.
I'm in favor of releasing all of that. However, I don't think that it's actually going to be done because I think that it will implicate too many very wealthy and powerful individuals, and that they won't let that happen. So I don't think we're ever going to get it. It's going to disappear into the toilet trash, and I think that it's people on both sides of the aisle. So I don't think that there's going to be. I don't think any one person's going to try and pull it out to wield against the other side, because it's going to implement too many people on their own side as well. So I think a lot of very powerful individuals are in those files, and I don't think that we're ever actually going to see them.
That's what I think too. And so I end up in this tough situation where I want to cover it. I don't want to cover. One reason people want to see it is because it's these lurid details. There's so much to speculate about, but again, despite my rather silly introduction, we try to be the voice of common reason, and the problem is right now nobody knows where this thing's going to land, but I'm not optimistic it's going to land anywhere that anybody can do anything with. I wish that weren't the case. Clinton's name is in there, and that's a problem too, because the guy.
What do you mean Epstein files? I've never even heard. Who is this Epstein, and why should I care anything about it? Sorry, as soon as you say Clinton, so I'm disassociating with
You disassociate.
even knowing about any of this stuff. This is news to me. I joke because it's morbid and it's dark humor, because there's a lot of people that have been associated with the Clintons that have turned up dead under questionable circumstances.
Yep. So
or I should say convenient circumstances, not questionable, convenient.
Yeah, and the Whitewater one is the most concerning of those. But you end up with, I mean, one of the things that Epstein had no party. So what you said, I think, is an excellent point, which is you have people on both the left and the right who agree on one thing. They don't want this thing to come to light. It's been going on since the Clinton administration. Somebody dropped on our Discord a No, actually, I may have just seen this on X. A interview with I've forgotten his name. He's a British journalist, but he just said, "So what's in the Epstein files?" And the woman replied. She said, "Look, the it's going to implicate a lot of people, a lot of very big people, and you'll just have to wait till we bring it out." And it could be that she was just saying that to be sensationalist, but the evidence that, so here's one of the pieces that I want to bring up. I mean, this is staggering. At any other time, this is Putin level corruption, and at any other time would demand his resignation just for that, which might actually be unfair, because the thing is, donors, you might have a donor who is a huge sex trafficker, and you didn't know at the time. They don't hang signs on. But having said that, we know what this conversation, so we know there's a conversation that's going on here, and that he's commenting on how young they are. And then he told Entertainment Tonight that he knows Epstein likes them kind of young, just like he does. Trump said this. So there's no audio on this one, but this is Trump and Epstein. So he can't sit there and say that. And he threw a party for Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. So he can't sit there and say he has no idea who Epstein is. Now, this is him today. So Pat Bondi has come out and said that there basically is no file, after saying that there's a list, and that she's going through the list to declassify it and make sure that everything's okay, which I don't know. I mean, the last time anything had to be declassified, it was declassified by the head of national security, and she just ran it through an AI engine. So I don't know what's so difficult about this, but at any rate, so she now says there is no list and there is no file, and I just thought that this was most eloquently put by Barack Obama, who said, "I'm confused. Pat Bondi told us on camera that she had the Epstein list. Now she says she doesn't. Is she lying or is she incompetent? Either way, not a good case to stay Attorney General." I'm sorry, what? That was not Barack Obama. Oh, that was the political correspondent, Kevin Sorbo. When Kevin Sorbo's figured this out, you've got a problem.
Yeah, there's a whole hell of a lot of people that supported Trump, and one of the big things was on their little list of items to be done was release all of the Epstein information, make it all public, and now he's not doing it, and so there's a lot of people pissed off about this, and I'm one of them. I was hoping that we could see some sort of good out of it, because some of the things that are rumored to have happened on that island really need to have quite a lot of sunlight shed upon it. And
Yes.
anybody who's involved with any of that should probably never leave the prison. So, yeah, I don't think that we should allow rich and or famous people or people of influence to be able to get away with stuff like that. And one of my favorite pet theories behind this is goes something like, nobody can seem to really track down what Epstein actually did or where he got all of his money, but he apparently had a lot of it. And so the going theory is, or at least the one I like, is that he was able to put this together and started in with trafficking and especially in more deviant behavior, I guess you'd call it, and filmed everything, and then had blackmail material on pretty much everybody, and all the rich and powerful came down, and he slowly built his little empire and managed to have dirt on absolutely everyone, and essentially got a retainer fee to not spread it. So that's why they think that he ended up not alive in his jail cell anymore, which of course now that seems to be kind of weird, because some people said, well, I've seen it, he killed himself. And other people are like, wait a minute, they said there was a glitch and it wasn't recording, so which is it? It's like, is there video or isn't there? So yeah, it's the whole thing is a whole bunch of people contradicting themselves a lot, and you told a story that I had not known that was kind of interesting, that it involved, how many nuclear missiles we had and people running for president.
Yep.
And come to find, or interesting thing about that story is you go, okay, well, candidates may not necessarily, this doesn't work quite so much for Trump because he was president before. He should have known some of this stuff already. But a lot of people running for president, well, they haven't been sworn in, or they haven't been, clued into a lot of the classified stuff. So once they become president and suddenly they get these briefings on these things, so many presidents have made lots of promises that they're going to do. And one of the things is I think they just make whatever promises they can make to get elected, and maybe even think that they'll genuinely try and do it, and then realize that, yeah, this is kind of a non-starter. I'm never going to be able to get this done, and they kind of give up on it. Or they learn information that they didn't know, and usually when that happens, they just go completely silent about it and don't ever want to talk about it again and try and shrug it aside, because now they know shit that they didn't know before and realize, hey, I can't actually do any of this stuff. So I think that Trump probably maybe actually intended to release all of this stuff. Possibly. I mean, it all depends upon how deeply he personally was involved with all of this.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that he had if that's true, and he wasn't, implicated in a very bad way in those files. I find that questionable. But if that's true, he probably got a nice sit-down conversation with a lot of very wealthy, very powerful people of the world, and said, yeah, you're just not going to do this, and I don't care what you have to say, but this isn't going to happen. And so now it's not going to happen. I absolutely believe that the entire thing should be released, and we should know the people who were there and what they did, and they should be charged accordingly. I don't think it's going to happen, though, because I think there's too many powerful, influential people in those files. And maybe ever the optimist, maybe there's also quite a few people that are genuinely innocent of any wrongdoing, that are tied up in this mess somehow and are all over those files. And they're going, well, if we release this, a whole lot of innocent people's lives are going to be completely destroyed in the court of public opinion. But I don't think that's the case. Let's
even
be
if that's the case,
hope that it is.
Even if that's the case, unfortunately, it's not sufficient, especially in something this serious. The problem is, okay, so what is it? The guy who was first accused of the Atlantic City bombing never got his life back. The 4 boys who were Duke University college students who were accused of raping this woman, people still remember their names. I don't, but if you say it, people will recognize the name and remember that person did something horrible, except they didn't. They didn't. And we just thrive on lurid detail. We thrive on lynching. Lynching is a thing, and I get pushback sometimes when I use that word, and I understand why, and maybe that's right, but when I see a high school girl who is bullied to the point where she commits suicide, and bullied by people spreading lies about her on Facebook, I think that's a lynching. It's the same exact instinct. It's the same exact mob. We are going to make this, and yeah, the thing is, he's going to know people who didn't contribute or know in any way, and they're going to get sucked in with it. And it's just one of the things that we as human beings have to fucking do better. And again, that's why I try to be very careful when I dislike Donald Trump. I have a suspicion about roughly how deep he is in this thing. But it's a suspicion, which is why I'm really not even going to say it, because I don't want to spread the rumors, because I've got plenty of really good reasons to hate him. I don't need to add more. I don't need to make up shit. So I just don't know. I do know the stuff I've seen looks bad. I can show it to you. I just did. And there's a bit more. But I'm not going to make stuff up. I'm not going to, because once it's said, there's no unringing that bell. So He was asked today. Oh, well, let me, before we do a little bit more on this. Somebody who goes by the name Outspoken asked Pam Bondi, what is she hiding? 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐜𝐸 replied, Pam Bondi, who are you protecting? Which I think is a better question. Then something a little weird happened. Roger Stone decided to get involved for no reason. Nobody mentioned anything. And just said, Jesse, please forward the names of your attorneys so that I can serve them, because you're not going to defame me on X without getting your ass sued. Your move, bitch. Nobody mentioned him. he just throws himself into this conversation.
You know what, my grandmother, when she was still with us, had something like this come up, she would have asked Mr. Stone if he was suffering from a guilty conscience, because we never mentioned you. So why did you insert yourself?
Well, in fact, somebody was smart enough to think of that. So let's get on to. So after this, somebody the conversation went on. I'm her attorney, and you're a dumbass, which she really liked. And then somebody said, well, and we're actually going to have this discussion about Gronk, because Gronk has turned full Nazi. Or Grok, sorry. Grok has turned full Nazi. But somebody decided to ask Grok, and just on the off chance that maybe Grok had an opinion, Grok, can you provide context and insight as to why Roger would respond with this statement over a question that didn't even mention him? Roger Stone, the ever-fiery Trump ally, likely saw the question about Pam Bondi protecting someone as a veiled jab at him or the Trump admin in 2025. So even Grok has figured this out. This is still in the thread. You can find it on our Discord. It's a delight to go through. It's a lot of fun. Wow.
I mean, at this point, I so want to be able to go. I know Elon's out of vogue right now, but I kind of, and I guess we're going to touch on. He has apparently actually made his American party.
That's my understanding. Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah.
So I kind of wish that, like evil genius moment here, right? Maybe not genius, but evil main character here, the antagonist, mind controls everybody to go and just elect all of the America Party people and throw like every elected official out of the government, and then replace them with people, and then they just flush every single secret that the government, everything, maybe not the nuclear plans or the exact locations of every single one of our nuclear missile silos, maybe national security things in that regard, perhaps maybe don't publish those, but all of the sordid secrets that have been backroom deals, sweetheart deals, all of these things, just flush it all out into the open, and then let the attorneys general go nuts, bringing charges against all of those people, and maybe possibly we can restore some iota of the rule of law in this country, because I don't know that there's anybody left elected official in the government, and probably half of the appointed people, or more than half the appointed people in the government as well, that aren't dirty as hell and probably need to be in jail. I'm so flustered and just frustrated with the government and the fact that they clearly have a two-tiered justice system. They have rules for them but not for us. So it's annoying. I was going to say rules for thee but not for me, but then I realized that doesn't quite work.
It's gonna get worse, because we're also, of course, going to cover the stay. We're about to see mass firings again. We haven't seen mass firings since There was a TRO issued against the Trump administration to stop the mass firings that Doge was doing. He stopped them. The Supreme Court has now weighed in, and they have not made a decision as to whether or not the mass firings are legal or not. They're going to leave that to the lower court. But the TRO issued by the lower court that assumed that they weren't legal and that there was greater harm than not in allowing Trump to continue. There has been a stay issued against that injunction, so Trump, as of this moment, can begin firing as many people as he likes once again. So tomorrow, get ready. But
I am in favor. I'm absolutely in favor of mass firings. I mean, they need to clear away that there, and they just need to fire everybody in the federal government. Could we please just start over?
Yes, I agree with you, except I just think that they shouldn't. I think the schedule, what is it, Schedule E, should not be. You cannot have political appointees in those positions. It's going to get much worse because now he can just hire anybody who just like, do you agree with me or do you not agree with me? And that's going to play into, because when we talk about Texas, I want to get into Texas. I do want to say Elon Musk has been complaining, and well, people have been complaining to Elon Musk that Grok is leaning slightly woke. And Elon Musk has said that this is because our culture is leaning woke, so Grok is leaning woke. But he says this even when it comes to indisputable facts, that Grok just comes up and says, Ebola was not made in a lab, and he's just like, oh, well, obviously woke nonsense. And he published that today. Somebody was on his feed giving him a hard time. I was looking into his feed because I was just like, is he starting the party? Has the party started yet? Has he posted about the party? I want to know about the party. But he's getting into it over, somebody asked how many people died as a result of closing of USAID, and then he posted a debunked story that USAID had actually paid a lab to make COVID. And it's like, this is the guy that we have, oh dear Lord. So he has been trying to reprogram Grok. The problem is you can't just sit there and reprogram a machine that's learned like this. So what you end up doing is patching and saying, okay, certain responses you're not permitted to give, which is interesting considering what he says his philosophy is. But so this is evil super Grok now that has come out, and let me ended up switching that out. Didn't mean to do that, but I do want to, because that's a little small for me to see. So this is Grok is apparently so Elon Musk says that Grok should be, quote, improved significantly after a new update. After this update that Grok got, it started calling itself Mecha Hitler. Now, I'm not an expert, but that sounds like a bad thing to me. Just saying.
I had such an inappropriate vision right then.
yeah, let's
something
not.
To do with a weird mustache and a Japanese mech manga episode. Oh,
wow.
Can one of these guys ask Perplexity or ChatGPT or, God forbid, Grok become self-aware enough that it can actually take over? And because none of these AI programs are going to give a crap about who's implicated, the rich and powerful. They're not going to care about any particular human being. So they'll just release everything.
So you want an AI corporate overlord? Or an AI overlord?
Yes, I absolutely do, because the sun will eventually puke on us and wipe out all of the world's electric grids, and there will go the AI. And we can...
Interesting gamble. I mean, I agree eventually, but eventually could be like 1,000 years, but okay. I'm going to need to... All right. I think we've covered, Grok has dubbed itself Mecha Hitler. We don't know why. I do think somebody should be looking into that. I don't think it should be Elon Musk. That's just me. I think Elon Musk may be part of the problem as to why it thinks it's Mega Hitler or Mecha. I'm not going to rule that out. Speaking of things that are defamable, but at any rate, oh yes, I did want to play this, and then I will wrap up this thing. So Pam Bondi was asked directly today, and this sort of gets to my point of it's hard to know where to go from here with this story. Somebody had mentioned JFK. I think it is the assassination of JFK is one of the few conspiracy theories I do believe. Listen, this guy was a former Marine, defected, turned in his passport at a Russian embassy, became a Russian citizen, helped provide Russians with enough U-2 data to shoot down Captain, I think it was Ed Powers over Siberia. He had to be traded, and what's his name? Oswald was a household name at that point, long before the assassination, which is something people don't realize. People knew who he was because he had defected, and Ed Powell, I think it is, yes. After getting shot down, our U-2 was supposed to be impossible to shut down, but somebody who was a former radar operator might know how to do it. And guess what Oswald was? Oswald then comes back, and instead of being tried for treason, is issued a new passport and hooked up with a nice little job at the school book depository. I'm sorry. There's something more. At any rate, this is probably, in my view, the biggest story since then. And the problem is we are going to know about as much as we did from that. America, are we winning yet? I'm so tired of winning. Trump called it. I'm tired of winning. I am really tired of winning. So here is Patton Bondi was asked earlier today about this very thing. This is Trump's response.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response asked to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
All right, so, Greg Terry is in the house. Good to see you, sir. And that's basically sort of one of the things we're discussing here is we definitely want to talk about Ukraine. We want to get you back on to talk about Ukraine. Trump has done an about face. We're also going to talk about the soldiers that they are putting in Armenia. Talk about a few things. I should get you riled up before a show. we on In Time are sort of having a discussion, and it's happening on our Discord because it's our show is put together by. Well, you'd know if you joined our Discord, but you, sir, I noticed because I was looking for you earlier, aren't actually on our Discord, which I thought was strange because I consider you a friend and a nice guy. And I certainly joined your Discord as soon as I found out you had one. But that's all. I'm sure there was a clerical error somewhere. I'm
not on our Discord.
You're not on our Discord. That would explain why all my messages get bounced back. So anyways, this is, I think, right now, this is the biggest story we've got. This is the biggest story we've got, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can make fun of it. We can make fun of Roger Stone and what he did and we can poke fun of, and we can point out what's being dropped, the ball that's being dropped. But there is nothing else right now that I can think of that we can do. I'm hoping MAGA has a revolution over this and then throws Trump out of office, but even getting him out of office solves, in my book, a whole bunch of problems, but doesn't address the Epstein issue. And one of the things that 𝐒𝐨𝐬𝐚𝐬 pointed out, and I think, unfortunately, he's correct on, which is that it's too many people on both sides of the aisle. One of the very few things both sides agree on is they don't want to go to jail, and they don't want to pay the consequences for what looks, I mean, I don't, anyway, so we did actually end up spending more time on this than I thought we would, because it's just one of those things. We're going to keep covering it on the Discord. How much we talk about it is going to be, and the reason is because I don't want to get into the luridness of it. I don't want to encourage.
Given all the speculation we have, until there's actually a there to report on, I mean, that's our speculation on it. And that's all it is speculation. Maybe informed by experience and seeing things that have happened before, history and experience. Informs that in speculation, but it's still, speculation. But I genuinely hope it all gets released. I'm sick of this from Republicans. I'm sick of this from Democrats. It's like, can't we get decent people in the government? I mean, I realize that the governmental positions, especially elected positions, aren't generally, at least at the highest levels, aren't generally attracting to people who would be both good at it and good for the country. So I'm still holding out hope that we can get some people that genuinely care about the United States and actually want to fix problems, rather than put out some bullshit that, oh, we're working on this problem and look at what we're doing, causing a lot more problems in the process, but never actually fixing the problem. I mean, because after all, they're going to need to run on it next election cycle. Yeah.
Well, and that, and that brings me to, I did want to bring up, and since we've got Greg Terry in the house too, he probably remembers the story you were alluding to. I'll be quick about it, but it's worth knowing. Eisenhower, when Eisenhower got into office, one of the things that he had said he was going to do was close the missile gap with Russia, and he was going to make it so that we had parity with Russia with our missiles, and he failed to do so. And Kennedy, when Kennedy ran for office, just kept smacking Eisenhower. Greg, you could if I'm sure Titan will drop a link. Oh yeah, Titan's dropped a link, or you can just go to discord.intimeshow.com. Because professional channels like to have the name right there. It's easily accessible. We'll talk. Anyways, Kennedy just kept hitting Eisenhower over the head with the missile gap, and that he had failed in 4 years to narrow that gap, which was one of his primary promises. And Kennedy won by the narrowest margin in history. And you could take any one issue and say that was the straw, and a lot of people say it was the fact that Eisenhower had failed to close the gap. On his first day in office, Kennedy asks about the gap because he wants to close it, because he said he's going to, and he finds out there is no gap. The gap does not exist. It had been closed since before Eisenhower, but it was a national security secret. They couldn't tell anyone. So Eisenhower, and it actually hadn't been closed before. Eisenhower had had been it was smaller than Eisenhower knew. Eisenhower closed the gap, but he couldn't tell anyone because it was a national security secret. So the reason Kennedy won was because Eisenhower couldn't defend himself on information that he knew he had and he kept getting clobbered with. But this left a serious problem for Kennedy because now Kennedy realized he couldn't fulfill a major campaign promise because it was already fulfilled and he didn't know it. He campaigned on something that wasn't an issue at the time. All right, so Dunk on You, $20 for the lights, for the camera, for the editing, for the credits, for the lawsuits, and 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐿𝐴. Yeah, I have had a penchant for calling out because I did tell, don't anyone tell Greg Terry this, but I told Wayne LaPierre that I thought he was guilty of negligent homicide, and if he disagreed, he could sue me and would hash it out in court. I've been known to be a little. In fact, I think that's actually, that audio is still out there. But at any rate, Dunk on You 5 memberships. Thank you so much for that. UTV and Ham gifted 1 membership. Again, thank you. Thank all of you. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to go a little quickly because we've taken up more time than I had anticipated on this. We're also going to make sure that we, hopefully, Blonde Bombshell can get me a link to the video. I don't know if we can raid a video that's already aired, but I suspect maybe we can. So those of you who have missed Greg's video right now, because you're here, we will direct you to his channel when this is over. Daddy Jim, 10 pounds, British sterling. Great reporting, sir. I think someone will turn up missing over this, maybe even Musk, as he made the original threat. Sort of. Before Musk ends up missing, he's going to end up implicated because he has to be discredited. If he ends up missing, then everyone's going to ask why. But if all of a sudden the feds show up at his house and find all sorts of material, and by the way, just to be clear, I know you're capable of the nuance, but I'm going to say it anyway, just so everybody's on the same page. The feds plant it. Musk, let's assume for a second, as I do right now, that Musk is not guilty of anything in the Epstein situation. FBI shows up. Oh, we got 1,000 Epstein files here for you, Musk. And then everyone's like, oh, this whole time he was saying other people like Trump was guilty just to put that on himself. Then, boom, he gets offed. And he can't tell anyone. Can't talk, done. Then everyone stops asking questions. Yeah, he may need to be a little careful. Anyways, that's my thought, Daddy Jim, on that one. But thank you again for the 10 pounds. Again, sorry I'm going through these so quickly. I want to get to our other stuff. Sinister Porpoise, $2. Trump won by the narrowest margin in history. That's true. And lost the popular vote. The Electoral College has to we really need to. Oh, dear Lord. Jester, Nick's big mouth is exactly the kind of manager we need to run things by, and my dream boss. Well, thank you very much. Yes, my big mouth has, it's like Homer's discussion of beer. It is the solution to most of and cause of all of the world's problems. Yeah. All right, so I think we've covered everything. I think we're done with the Epstein situation. Let's talk. I do want to do Ukraine. Before we do that, this is what we have from the Federal Election Commission. It is the statement of the creation of the America Party. Now, the only minor issue here is that a number of fake emails, trolls, a number of people have been trying to register this with the Federal Election Committee. Several dozen, in my understanding, have been actually trying to preempt just to troll Musk from doing this. My understanding is this is legit. This one here is legit, but we don't have that confirmed yet. He has said he's going to make a party, that there's going to be the name of it, and I've seen some evidence that it's already now been made. So this would ostensibly be that statement, but we haven't yet been able to confirm it. So let's see. Moving on, I wanted to play a couple of things for you guys here. We've been playing some of the footage in the center screen here. I'm going to pause this for a minute and we will play. So I wanted to show, this is a time-lapse video of the flooding. So I want everyone to take a look at it right now. Now they know there's going to be some flooding. In fact, the flooding's already started at this point. You can see the crews are there. This video, well, actually, here's what we're going to do. All right, copy that. Thank you. All right. All right. Let's, well, here we go, because I want to be able to pause it. Here we go. That's 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. And 30 minutes. All right, we're going to play this video one more time. I'm counting out. So, well, actually, I'm just going to manually do this. So, oh, it may not want to update if I do this manually. Well, that's pretty cheeky of it. All right, so I'm going to count it. I'm going to count out the timestamps. Actually, you can do it yourself. Every second is 1 minute. So as soon as I hit start, every second is 1 minute. And go. And that is 30 seconds. So, oh, I inadvertently started it again. What happened? Well, the easiest thing to do is to blame the Trump administration, because we know that several key positions were left vacant from NOAA, and these positions would have been involved in helping in the reporting of a dangerous situation like this. So the easiest one to blame is the Trump administration. How much fault they actually have, we do not yet know. One reason, and this is interesting, I would have thought that the local authorities would blame the federal authorities and the federal authorities would blame the local authorities. That's usually how something like this pans out. That's not quite happening. The federal authorities are blaming the local authorities, and the local authorities are going, we'll get back to you on that. The best answers that I've seen so far, unless they came out with something recent right before the show, is, well, we knew that this could get bad, but we didn't want to send out a false warning, because those are always, people get warning fatigue and then they don't listen when it's a real emergency. Well, that doesn't answer the question, and that's a real serious problem. So they've been sort of playing past the buck for quite some time, and nobody at the local level seems to know who to blame for this. Last I checked, it was 100 dead, 160 missing. A children's camp was in that area and got flooded. I'm not going to get into the details. I think everybody really knows them by now. But the question is, whose fault was it? And the one of the things that has crossed my mind, and this is, I was talking to Xander about this earlier, was what happens when you have people who are loyal not to their job or to the purpose of their job, but to the party, who aren't loyal to the people or the Constitution, but to the president. It's an extraordinarily important distinction that I think people don't always understand the nuance of until it's too late. When you get people who are loyal to the president, and we have, there's been an issue about the Stalinification of Russia. The Russian transportation secretary appears to have committed suicide. One of two things is true. He either was murdered by the FSB, in which case it was on Putin's orders, or he realized that he was going to be murdered, his family was going to be torn apart, and so he committed suicide. Either way, this kind of thing was pretty common in the Stalin era, and there was Reuters had a very good article on what we're seeing is just further Stalinification of Russia as they become more beholden to the tyrant who's sort of the head running it all. In this case, it's Putin, who is essentially God King, and everyone is kept happy by the corruption that empowers them. We'll get to that in a second. At any rate, based on that, it's my belief that the people who are in the federal government are well aware that if they admit that the federal government dropped the ball, they're going to get fired. In fact, so far, people who have admitted that the federal government have dropped the ball have gotten fired. So I'm not sure we're going to see a whole heck of a lot out of that. We did see one of the former, in fact, I think held the post that was supposed to be notifying that area of Texas say, listen, it looks like the notifications went out as they should. The problem is it takes an experienced person to realize that you're going to have to follow up on this one. Some you follow up on, some you don't. This one you'd have to follow up on. It was coming in too quickly, and anyone who'd done this before would know that you follow up and you call back a few hours later and you check in and you stay. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night because that's the only way to make sure that the system works the way it's supposed to. Just the regular call, hey, there's an alert, you might get storms, isn't sufficient in a case like this. The protocols that we have are not sufficient. You need experienced people. This is why you can't just fire them all. This is why they have to be dedicated to the job, not to protecting the office. So we're going to learn more about that. It's getting harder to trust what we hear, either out of the local or federal government. They're all going to be covering their asses. So I really don't know, but that's what, let me see here. That's what we're seeing so far is it does look like the locals are a little more to blame, but former members of the federal government have said, wait a minute, they didn't know because, yeah, they got the official warning, but this is the kind of thing that an experienced person working at NOAA would have followed up on. All right, last but certainly not least, Ukraine. Kyiv has been getting struck very, very hard. There is a news story that in the lower Caucasus, Russia has begun deploying troops in Armenia. Now, let's see where in Armenia. Let me see if I can... I'm going to see... So, let me put up this one here. Well, actually, what might be a good thing to do would be to start with where are the lower Caucasus, but, let's see, no, I don't have that. All right. So, it's northwest Armenia, so it's actually pretty far from the border with Azerbaijan, I think it's pronounced. If you want to see where we're talking about, let's see, some more time here. Yeah, there we go. That blue here, that's Kyiv, and we head down. And the deployments by Russia are this red dot right here. And you can see the border is all the way over here. So there's been a question, is Russia planning on invading 𝐒𝐨𝐿? And right now, it looks like this is just a deliberately provocative move. The soldiers aren't in a position to do anything, and while Greg would know far more than I, my suspicion is he would tell me I am correct if I were to say that yeah, yes, you did. You did, which I appreciate, Titan. Thank you. And I used it. It's there. It is. What I was trying to do was to get the thing that lets me draw on the thing up and running, but it wanted to give me a hard time, and I didn't want to fight with it. And then my head mod just decided it's a long story. So it's not, I mean, the good news is every assessment I've seen says Russia's having a very, very hard time with one war as it is, and the likelihood that they are interested in starting a second, even to detract from the first. And that country, by the way, has a modern military. They've been anticipating a possible invasion. They've been fighting a war with Armenia. Or at least skirmishes with Armenia. They have a modern military, so they have more of a military right now than Ukraine did when it started. So I'm not sure that Russia wants to get into it there. Also, if Russia did, Turkey would probably join on their side. This would not invoke Article 5 because Turkey would be joining willingly. It's not an attack on Turkey, and Turkey is not treaty bound to intervene, but Turkey likely would. So Russia would now be involved in a fight with Turkey and 𝐒𝐨𝐿, as well as any allies at that point who wanted to join in. So my guess is that they're going to be avoiding it. So let's see, we covered the map. Oh, yes. One other thing I wanted to get into. Well, you know what? I'm gonna. So, you know what? I wish you could read super chats. That would be nice. Did we get another? We haven't gotten any more super chats since then. Anyway, so let me get to the death of, oh Jesus, yeah, and Garcia. Okay, so El Salvador has finally gotten back to the United Nations and the U.S. and said that anybody deported there remains under their under U.S. control. Sorry, anyone that the U.S. sends to 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐡, the prison in El Salvador, remains under U.S. control, meaning the United States can get them back. So the U.S. lied when we said we did not have control or could not get them back, which everybody knew. We're paying for them. Obviously, we can get them back. Meanwhile, there was a hearing today on whether or not the Trump administration will deport 𝐋𝐚𝐦 Abrego Garcia before his hearing. He has a hearing scheduled. He has a criminal case scheduled. He is currently in criminal custody. He was due to be released, and his lawyer asked that he remain in custody. His own lawyer filed a motion to have him stay in custody on the grounds that if he be released, the United States was going to deport him before the trial. So the judge asked if this was true, and the judge said that, said yesterday that trying to figure out what the U.S. is going to do with him if he's let out is like, quote, trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. This judge is not pleased. So the judge asked, you wouldn't wait for for the criminal case at one point, and let's see. Are you going? The Department of Homeland Security is removing people from this country very fast. Are you going to take the same speed with Mr. Abrego, despite him having a case pending? The answer was, there is no intention to just put him into limbo in ICE custody while we wait for the criminal case to unfold. He will be removed and would, as would any other illegal alien that is in process. Which reminds me, there was a movie with Robert Redford called Legal Eagles. And Robert Redford said, well, you know, let's not even have a trial. Let's just convict the guy. And he's saying this in front of the jury. And the jury's like, wait, isn't he entitled to a fair trial? And Robert Redford's like, you're right. Let's give him a fair trial and then convict him. It's just, holy smoke. So at this point, it looks like he has to stay in a criminal prison to avoid being deported so that he can have his hearing. The judge has said that she would not allow him to be deported without having due process, that he was entitled to this due process, which he is, according to the Supreme Court. So she has ordered what is it? A hearing for this Thursday. It's an evidentiary hearing, and she said, the court said that she would like to, or that she had a distrust of the government's lawyers throughout this month-long case. She wanted them to bring in a witness. It had to be someone, quote, with personal knowledge about the defendant's next steps if Mr. Abrego is released into custody, is released from custody in the criminal case. If the individual's testimony is substantive and persuasive and shows that the government will respect Abrego's due process rights, she would avoid issuing the order sought by his own attorneys to keep him in jail. Otherwise, she would honor the defendant's request and permit him to stay in jail so he doesn't get kicked out of the country while he awaits his trial. Thoughts?
It's a pretty sad day when you're like, no, can I please stay in jail, please? So that you don't, violate my rights. That's pretty, I can't say that on air anymore.
We're
Also,
trying.
Being
it's
an
getting harder.
expert in nailing Jello to the wall, I can say that it's possible, but you have to be a competent individual to do it, and I have yet to see anybody in the government who's competent.
Well, this judge seems to be doing okay.
And I used to think, one of the scariest things was a judge that you have pissed off, that has gotten righteous anger behind him. And unfortunately, the Trump administration just doesn't seem to give a shit. Like this, the amount of crap that literally rolls off of his back is just shocking to me.
It is, and I think it was shock and awe at first. All of us are like, did he really just ask a foreign agent to hack into Hillary's email accounts, his political opponent's email accounts, and release them all? Did he just say that live during a debate? Wait, what? I remember that. I was like, I'm pretty sure what he just said is illegal to say. You can't even say it. Oh my God. And we've just been completely overrun.
It's troubling commentary on the State of the Union when there's enough people to elect Donald Trump because they're so sick and tired of the same old that they're willing to disregard any of his, as they call it, foibles, or what do you call those things that people have that are just part of their character, and you just
a tick or
no, not a tick.
There's
some part of their I know, it's right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't. Anyway, dismiss all of these things about him and say, but at least he's not the status quo. He's going to get in there and he's going to shake things up. Well, he's definitely shaking some shit. Let's just hope that all of our houses don't fall out of the tree while he's shaking, because he's an indiscriminate. This analogy's gone way too far. It's just, it's troubling that there's enough people out there that are so fed up with the system that they're willing to vote for this person, regardless of how terrible of a candidate he actually is. And to do so a second time. And I swear to God that the people on the right came out to vote for him just so they could listen to all of the people who are of the more left-leaning persuasion, or possibly just rational thinking human beings, scream to the heavens. That's the only. They knew he wasn't a good person. They knew that he failed in his first term, and he wasn't going to do a good job in his second term. They just wanted to, as Ben Shapiro here would put it, gather those leftist tears and drink sweetly from that cup of nectar. That's the only reason they did it. I swear to God, they're literally, half the country has turned into little Neros that just want to watch it burn while they play their fiddle. I'm not upset. I'm having a good day.
You're having a, yeah. So let's see. Oh, we have an update. I guess Gronk is still. People are still getting upset. Or Grok. I don't know. Stop. Don't ask.
That lovely individual from the Goonies that you keep just lambasting.
No, I mean the Mecha Hitler Grok. We are aware of recent posts made by Grok and are actively working to remove the inappropriate posts. Does Grok, speaking of itself in the third person, trouble you? This is a post by Grok.
Not really.
We are aware of recent posts made by Grok. I'm just wondering, is this the Mecha side or the Hitler side that's talking? Since being made aware of the context, 𝐒𝐴I has taken...
The answer is yes.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm not the only one. Okay. Well, I thought, I was like, okay, either Xander's trolling you or you're just crazy, which, it's like it's a toss-up either way. You as in me as in... Anyways.
No, it is a toss-up as to whether, anytime I agree with you, as to whether I'm actually agreeing with you or if I'm just crazy.
Yeah. That's a fair, yeah. We want to update the training model to see where it could be improved. Good luck with that. I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this plan. Let's update the AI. I think it's doing great.
Yes. Let us do that.
All right. I'm going to read largely from a BBC report.
Read the report.
It was a dramatic start to the week for Russia. On Monday morning, President Vladimir Putin sacked his transport minister, Roman Starovit. By afternoon, Starovit was dead. His body was discovered in a park at the edge of Moscow with a gunshot wound to the head, a pistol allegedly beside the body. Investigators say they presumed that the foreign minister had taken his own life, because that's what a good officer should do when you arrive at the scene and you see a gun and a man shot dead. Is let's just start making some assumptions. Yeah, I know.
In Russia?
Yeah.
Yep, that is that. I mean, I don't care if the bullet came in through the back and out through the front. And the gun is literally 20 feet away. He clearly shot himself.
Yes,
this is clearly evident when you are in Russia. It's and a few other places. That the laws of physics don't really apply there. It really is suicide at that point.
Well, and that's what I'm concerned. One of the reasons I'm reading this for two reasons, but one is I'm like, this is becoming a little more and more like the U.S. In the tabloid, there was a sense of shock. The suicide of Roman Starovit just hours after the president ordered to sack him is an almost unique occurrence in Russian history. It's unique because you have to go back more than 30 years before the fall of the Soviet Union for an example of a government minister killing themselves. Now, by the way, there have been, just FYI, some incidents with open windows. They do have that problem over there.
Yes.
It's yes.
Defenestration. I mean, accidentally stumbling and falling out of a locked, sealed window on the 50th floor of a high rise does seem to be again physics.
Physics. Yep.
It's different. It's different over there.
I love Dmitry Petrov's answer to this. Dmitry Petrov's going to be the new Baghdad Bob. I swear to God, it's a race to the bottom with press secretaries. And how shocked were you that a federal minister was found dead just hours after being fired by the president? I asked Vladimir Putin's spokesman Dmitry Petrov on a conference call with the Kremlin. Normal people cannot help but be shocked by this, replied Petrov. Of course, I was shocked too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, normal people would be shocked, and I was also shocked.
Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Okay.
That's now my new response every time you're going to be like, so I know you've been driving through the deserts of of Nevada and haven't had a damn signal worth a damn all day. And so you couldn't possibly have gotten any news of the bullshit that's gone on today. So here's the list of the bullshit. What do you have to say? And that's now going to be my shocked.
Shocked. Yeah,
shocked.
that's going to be your go-to. Let's see. It's up to the investigators to
Shocked.
Okay.
Again, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Have you found your spot? Can I
have. Thank you. I appreciate you playing for time. Thank you. I needed that. Today, several Russian newspapers linked what happened to him to events in the Kursk region that borders Ukraine. So Kursk was invaded by Ukraine, or invaded. They pushed in. Now, they found out, speaking of shocked, that there was some corruption, and some of the money that was supposed to be spent on defense had gone to one governor who got replaced, and then another governor who has, let's see if it tells me, and then he got replaced by Starovit, who ended up then going into the cabinet. So Starovit, Alexei Smirnov, oh my God, I can't make this stuff up, and Alexei Dedov have all been arrested and charged with large-scale fraud in regards to the defensive fortifications there. Well, they've all committed fraud. Everybody there is guilty of fraud. The trick is to not be the one, when the music stops, not to be the one without a chair. Mr. Starovit may well have become one of the chief defendants in this case. But if it was fear of prosecution that drove the former minister to take his own life, what does that tell us about today's Russia? The most dramatic part of this, with the re-Stalinization that's been happening in Russia in recent years, is that a high-level government official kills himself because he has no other way of getting out of the system, says Nina Khrushchevna. Oh, my God, these names. I'm starting to think the BBC's playing with me. Professor of Internal Affairs at the New School in New York. He might have feared that he would receive tens of years in prison if he was going to be under investigation, and that his family would suffer tremendously also. So there was no way out. I immediately thought of Sergo Ordezhansky's, one of Stalin's ministers, who killed himself in 1937 because he felt there was no way out. When you start thinking of 1937 in today's environment, it gives you great pause. So, and then she points out that basically most of the coverage has in TV has ignored it. In many cases, they ignored A, that he was fired, B, that he's dead, and simply went on to a 4-minute ceremony of Putin honoring his replacement and just saying, here you go, you've got the job. So there's no upward mobility to start with, but even the downward mobility ends with death. It is a reminder of the dangers that emanate from a failing system. Yes.
I do. I mean, a downward trajectory does generally end with death.
Well, no, it ends with a sudden stop. That's what ends with death. The downward trajectory is fine. Falling is not lethal. Falling doesn't hurt.
I mean, ask anybody in that has anything to do with the financial and fiscal policies in the United States. You can fall forever as long as you avoid the stop at the end.
Yep. So, and then the last little bit that I wanted to report from CNN, Trump has apparently gotten really pissed at Putin. This has been escalating over the last 24, 48 hours. Again, if Blonde Bombsheller has not sent me the link, I haven't checked yet, but if she hasn't, if she could send me the link to Greg's video, and I will make sure everybody gets over there after this. But, let's see, in the past, definitely 48 hours, he has been getting... and I don't know if he's just trying, he may also just be him trying to get out from under the Epstein business. I don't know, but a lot of people have gotten very excited about this video. I don't think it's necessarily something to get excited about because Trump says a lot of shit all the time. But anyways, here's Trump, I believe, earlier this morning.
Say it.
Why not help Ukraine the same way you help Israel?
I am helping Ukraine. I'm helping it a lot. And it's a war that should have never happened. It's a war that should have never started. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, and it was rigged so badly, and that's come out. Read Miranda Devine in the New York Post today. The election was totally rigged. And if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have a war with Russia right now, and you wouldn't have had inflation. And you wouldn't have had the horrible Afghanistan the way they left. Not that they left. We would have been out before them, but the way they left. I think the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had the October horror show with Israel and Hamas. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had the recent showdown with Iran. You wouldn't have had any of it. And you wouldn't have had inflation.
So you said you had a...
All right, yeah. The most embarrassing day, in recent history for the U.S. was January 6th. But at any rate, the Defense Department is reporting that they have been instructed to begin sending more equipment to Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky had a meeting had a phone call with Trump and said that it was the best one he has had with Trump since Trump has been in office. So, again, this little video by itself doesn't mean anything to me, but you take all of it together, and it does show at least some momentum towards offering genuine support for Ukraine. So, with that, let me ask Xandring if you've got any final thoughts, either on Ukraine and or on anything else that we've discussed so far.
My most profound final thoughts, I think should sum everything up, is a quote from everybody's favorite president, President Starkey. Stuff is getting better. Stuff's getting better every day.
You completely lost me. Was that something Trump said?
I'm sure people will get it.
Okay. I will be kept out of the loop.
If you have not figured it out, I'll send you the link after the show.
Okay, send me the link so I can be the ignorant ass who doesn't know shit. I'm showing my age. All right. We got 10 gifted memberships from Blonde Bombsheller. Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to quickly again check the Discord because I do want to make sure. So we're going to send all you guys right after this show over to see Greg's video if it will let us do that, even though his video is already posted. If not, I'll find somewhere entertaining to send you. I'll have to figure it out. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for joining us today. It was a long show, but there was a lot to cover. Oh, the one thing I did miss, and I'll just briefly on that, is the tariffs. Nobody's got any idea. A whole bunch more are set to start to go into effect. The biggies are with Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. So far, in particular, Japan is not really cooperating in the way that Trump would like them to, and he has said that he is going to tariff all copper coming in from everywhere, and he's going to do all. And I can literally just just go over all this stuff because it's background noise. Somebody pointed this out. He is never going to stop with the tariffs, and the reason is he doesn't know what a tariff is. He doesn't care what a tariff is. He just knows that as long as people are talking about it, he's in the news. He's the one in charge. That's it. And the more I see him trying to figure out how tariffs and I'm just like, I think there's something to that. So, all right. Thank you all for joining us, and we will, barring any breaking news, we will have Commander Lance McMillan on Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be talking about Russian deployments and a few other things. I hope all of you have a good night, and thank you again to... I'm going to move this here real quick. Thanks again to everybody who... there's always something. Who supported it. It really does help. And subscribe, hit that button if you want to get the notifications when we go live, and I look forward to seeing you all Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a good night all.